Hi everyone, this is Sameer Singh Jenny here. I think thank you for joining us. I know a lot of webinar sessions keep happening, so we thought that we will bring something which is very relevant and useful in the current stage of things. There has been also a lot of discussions around product manager and what their roles and responsibilities are, and I myself have played this role quite often times, and realized that a lot of people don't understand what the role is all about, what are the challenges which a product manager gets, and why sometimes there are a lot of disputes in the ecosystem, right? So I thought we'll bring it on the table, make you get your feedback as well. So it's not that we know everything. We would love to get your feedback, and of course rebuild it back in our ecosystem as we go forward. So that's the thought process which we have on the product management side. Uh, so what with this we will quickly start. As I said, my name is Sameer Singh Jenny, and I'm part of the Digital 50. In fact, I think I have been playing potentially a role of a digital product managers for almost like a 20 to 23 years in different roles and responsibilities, right? So I maybe I think 23 years back, maybe my role was I was like a manager for digital channels. And as part of that role, at times I would play all these activities which I'm going to talk about. And then in my days with Kotak, and then Infosys, role kept on changing, but intrinsically the responsibilities remain the same. Even as a CTO of the bank, I would go down and figure out what the processes are, what are the implications are, what is the roadmap, what is the value add, what is the top line, what is the bottom line, how can we engage with the customers better. So I think not much changed for me. I always believe that I remain core to my business. I remain a product manager. So I will talk about that a lot. And of course, as we work with a lot of clients in the market, most of the time we end up playing the role of a product manager. My team members end up playing the role of product managers and helping the customer in multiple ways, right? So that's the thought process. And of course, we'll talk about what the differentiation is. A quick view, many of you would have already joined our courses. Then you would know who we are and what we do. But basically, we are a fintech consulting firm. And we've been there for almost now 5 years plus, 5.5 years now. We primarily focus on fintech consulting, partnership and training and hiring, and that's all very deep. We are not the guys who will give you a high-level view and leave. We actually go down to the track and figure out how to make it happen from a process, plan, structure, compliances, regulatory piece. In fact, last session we had done on regulation, because when we meet every client, there's a lot of discussions on regulation as well. And we work with people across the ecosystem, from a banks, from a fintech, from a B2B fintech. So all of that knowledge is what we are trying to bring in the market as well. At this point of time, maybe we were working with a lot of embedded finance player, and an embedded finance player, what the role of the product manager is very different from a normal B2B business as well, right? Because you need to intrinsically understand your business, correlate and bring it out, how it can be interpreted and understood from a other segment. So let's say we are working right now, for example, in a company in milk, fuel, news, travel. So all the different ecosystem, and from there, how do we bring? So I think that's a interesting part of it. What do? We work on advisory side, maturity metrics, in terms of comparison to the market, benchmarking. Startup may we go from an idea stage to the growth stage. A lot of people we pick up at a series B to series C. We work across. Security compliance is big for us, and we do. You would have read a lot of material from us on the research and content side, and of course, we work a lot on open banking side. I think open banking is very strong for us. Again, a lot of times we act like an open banking product managers for our clients, along with the strategy, obviously. So with this, we move on, and of course, training is big for us. In fact, this particular course, what we are teaching is just one plug off from our main course, which we are triggering on 7th August, where we will talk about how in fintech, what are the frameworks, processes, and all of that we'll take care of in that session. But we plugged off one course, which is the small course on product management, and brought it here. In fact, this is one big change we have done. This is a 4th cohort starting on executive program on fintech, open banking, and financial blockchain. And till now, we have never had a dedicated module on product management. And we were realizing the need. So we have filled this gap by building almost a 7 to 8 hour course properly on product management. So while you are understanding on digital payment, digital lending, and all of that, but important that you get to understand about about product management independently, and that's what we are going to do in this session. So you go through all of that, but you also build a product management capacity as well. And of course, we train in a lot of organizations as well, including DBS or a Flipkart. We've done sessions with them. Even a PSU bank, we have worked with them in terms of training. So a lot of training background for us. For last 5 years, we have been training, and I think our trainees are well accepted in the market. But let's move on to the course itself. Now, when we think of product, I think I remember almost 12, 15 years back, we had a discussion. In terms of, okay, Yogesh, your feedback is that I should be louder. I will try to be louder. I think if there is any issue with anybody else, you can recommend. I think I'm normally very loud, right? So let's see. So in terms of product, what can be a product, right? For example, I remember a long time back, almost 20 years back, when we were hearing about Yahoo. Yahoo had a product manager for one page, right? The first page itself was a product manager, right? Google similarly will have a product manager for that. So the point is, it is difficult sometimes to correlate who would be a product manager and what is the product all about. But I think it can be anything in which the customer interacts. It can be a physical world or a service, whatever it is, right? So it can be a sub module or sub module, or even one page itself can be a product, or one feature itself can turn out to be a product in itself. So that's to the level at which we go. Of course, when we work in fintech domain, we are building a digital lending product. So in digital lending product, maybe a short-term product, or long-term product, or a sachet product, or a cattle loan product, or a fuel financing product, right? All of these products have their own nuances. And figuring out what to do around that is the game in which product managers play a very, very crucial role. If you have any questions, keep sending your chat message back to us and we will respond. Okay. In terms of very, very normally what we think about a product manager's role, we think of he or she working on the technology side. On technology side, how deep? I think I keep talking about it. You must know as much as, or at least very close to what the tech guys would know, so that you are actually able to work with them and understand their language, because the difference between a product tech manager or a product manager or tech product manager, they are very limited by nature now. So more you know, better it is. Of course, you may not be able to go beyond APIs and some pieces, so that's okay. But important that you don't ignore technology saying ye mera kaam nahi. Customer experience is very important, and when I say customer experience, even the employee experience of your product is also very important. So a lot of times we have seen that people focus on customer experience, right? But they ignore the experience of the employees in the journey, because most products may have some intervention at the branch level, or a system level, or a back office level, or a call center level. And you need to be able to build journeys around that. And that's a crucial part of the whole role and responsibility of product manager. So he should or she should work on experiences for both sides. And of course, he should know the strategy around that, the next steps, the profitability. And we'll talk about a lot of matrices which can exist today, which a lot of people ignore, right? I mean, whenever we get into a discussion with the product manager, we start with saying, where are the numbers? And numbers is not only the sales number, right? Profitability number, the turnaround time, what are the bottlenecks in the process? What can be the ideal product size and shape? For example, let's say today you spend on a particular product, maybe 100 rupees, 500 rupees, 900 rupees per product or service you are offering. How can you bring it lower without impacting the customer experience issues, right? So we keep optimizing that. And then of course, one point of time you'll say, oh shit, I know my job and I need to keep improving on it. So that's a game. A lot of times we will fight saying that I want to work more on the tech. I want to work more with UX. I want to work only on the business side. I don't want to work with tech. I think that is not going to work too much. At least in the near future, I don't see a way by which a product manager can exist doing just MIS. And of course, which is what differentiates a fintech product manager in a normal sense is that in fintech world or a digital finance world. So I will be using fintech and digital finance interchangeably. So you may be in a bank and building a digital lending product, or you may be a bank and partnering with a fintech, or you may be a fintech launching a digital lending product. I think all of them have a very similar expectation. So while you do all of that on business, UX, technology, it's very, very crucial that you work on the compliance side as well. So you can't have a situation that I don't know compliance and compliance will be taken care of by somebody else. So this is the biggest learning which I've had during my journey with on the fintech side, is that I tend to always see to it that my clients work very deeply, very deeply on the compliance side. So that's something which, in fact, we are right now working with a client. The first thing we share is, do you know the compliances? These are the digital lending compliances which exist today, and can we work along that? How should we ensure that we are adapting to it? We also know that RBI has been very aggressive on the regulation side. They are ensuring that then the market, everybody follows all the regulations and processes. So if that be so, very critical for you as a product manager to know, let's say if you are in digital lending, digital payments, every regulation which should exist out there, you should know by heart, so that when you build your journeys and processes, you don't have to go back to compliance team saying, tell me what needs to be done. And many of the fintechs may also not know, not have a compliance team. Many of the I would say banks may have compliance team, but compliance team may not be tuned to work in a digital product. So that they have to be trained, and the product managers also have to experience and understand more on the roles and or what is possible, what is not possible, and what is gray. And if there is gray, how can we get agreement or support from a regulator? I think that's also part of your role and responsibility. So going to regulator is also part of your responsibility. At times it works really well. I think just to give, because we are in a digital business in BFSI, and that's what the focus for us is. You can have a B2B product. Interestingly, we ourselves, when we do consulting, consulting is largely a B2B product which we have, which we offer to our consulting clients, and partnership is also for B2B. But interestingly, our trainings are B2C. So it's very different, right? So you need to figure out how to run your B2B business and B2C business separately, where you have same product managers managing it are different. But B2B is when you are selling to a business out there. So for example, a core platform or a Nerito kind of lending platform or a bureau primarily targets the financial institutions, and they sell their products to them. So they have to understand what the expectation of their clients would be. And of course, they may also need to understand what is their client's client need, right? For example, when you work with, Finacle would be working with their banks, let's say in India, they would also be trying to figure out what is the need of their clients, because otherwise the product itself makes no sense if the clients cannot use it. So I think context of each product can be different, but that's how it will work. Maybe from a Nelito perspective, which is the LMS, maybe different, bureau maybe different. So B2B has to focus in a different way and different avatar, and that needs that B2B guys have to meet their customers all the time, but they may also have to meet their customer to ensure that they have a good idea about how the customers work. In this side, I think I don't have a much of a challenge, but I know that a lot of times product managers go behind the firewall of implementation team and frontline teams and sales team. They don't tend to meet the customers, and that brings a lot of void in the market, a lot of unhappiness. Because I am, from my own experience, I can tell you that we had the challenge that the product team will always tell, "Yeah, tum kar kya ho, ye tumhari problem hai. We don't need to go in front of the client and figure this out." But the fact of the matter is, if you don't have an empathy for the customer, all the design thinking processes go for a toss. If you don't understand the customer, you don't understand it. B2B is in that direction. B2C, obviously, when you will launch a B2B product like a Zest or a Fi or a Fed Mobile or any of the digital products from a lending or payment perspective, you need to get a feedback from a customer directly, and that to that extent, we've had a positive side and negative side. Wherever we work, we tend to push even the technology team and every member of the team to meet the client, so they have empathy for the customer. Then we know what we are building. But we also have had situations where even the seniors, the product managers never met and went and met the client. The intent was that they never had met their clients ever in the journey, because they have been brought with the aspect that in the corporate office, you know how to work. And we'll talk about later, but B2C side, you must meet the customer. There's no choice. And if you look at the partner product side, which is maybe a journey where it is sort of very tech product, and you sell APIs to your partners, but you also need to ensure that as part of the engagement, you are in part of the transaction cycle. Maybe a Fastco is a travel platform, or a Card 91 is an underlying platform. So there's a link between a B2B and B2C product very much. But in a partner product, your success largely depends on your partner success. So you will keep engaging with them. You will not sell them one time. and do AMC, you will be working with them all the time to collaborate. So I think that's how we'll differentiate between a B2B and B2 partner. In B2B, you sell once and support, whereas in partner product, you will be working continuously for the success of the platform all through for years to come, right? So I think that's how it will work, largely linked to how the success of the product is taken care of. A lot of times, so I think, Raj, you have a question. I'll come back and try to respond back, but give me some time. Also, in terms of role of a product manager, I think very, very crucial. A lot of people think that what all are the things which I need to take care of, and what is the JD of mine. But I think before we get into JD and all, I think we should look at what they should be looking at, right? From a customer perspective, they should be working with the customer, understanding the needs of the customer, satisfaction, issues, NPS, and all of that. They should be working very closely with the technology team so that they get their product built. And again, it's a contextual issue, right? Now, many of you may be thinking that means that when this kind of partnership happens, when these kind of products are rolled out, they'll be 100% digital by nature. I'm not saying so. I'm not saying so. There will be cases where there will be part of the activity have to be done manually. There may be assisted mode. There is optimization where you can actually over a period of time go digital fully. But I think it's a step in progress. You have to ensure that you start somewhere, put some manual piece, some digital piece, keep improving from there. But do not try to launch one time a big product. It doesn't take you anywhere. It's a loss of a lot of time and a lot of feedback issue, right? I think if anybody would have read Lean Startup, I think the thought process would be keep learning. And I was reading about it for many few days back. Even today, I had a quick look at it. I can tell you that I think whatever we have been practicing in our life is very similar by nature, right? Ensure that we go to the market with a thought process, take feedback, improve upon it all the time. And therefore, to the extent technology will be a great help for you. You need to do a good amount of research, both research in terms of directly from a customer perspective, as well as from a secondary sources and all other. So you should interview as many people as possible, but not just customer, maybe experts in the market. It's also about leadership. Again, from a pointer perspective, a product is led by the product manager, and product manager basically plays a role of literally a CEO of that product. And therefore, he has to take a leadership role, and he also has to work with the leadership as well. So both, you can say he has to act like a leader, and from a leadership perspective, he should get a feedback or support or money. For example, if there is a budget which is they are running, and therefore they need to breathe the budget, they have to go back and get more money. So I think working with leadership is critical, and getting feedback is critical or giving feedback to the management, saying this is how they would need to help us. Legal compliance, as I said, the legal side and compliance side is very, very crucial for product managers. So very, very important that you pick it up. I remember when we were doing this launch of a digital product almost in 2002 or 3, we had to go for RBI for their legal approval for launching a mobile banking or internet banking app. And that process, you need to understand what does it take to get approvals. Now, coming to marketing and sales, I think this is somewhere my flaw I failed at times in this segment, and it's just an empathy issue that we take many things to marketing and sales team. And once the product is getting built or almost at the shape of getting launched, I think it's important that we have a great relationship with the marketing and sales team and work very closely from their KPI perspective. So from a sales perspective, for example, yesterday we were in a call with a client, and we were very happy that they have onboarded a sales team on it, and sales team understood why we were doing what we were doing, and their full empathy is saying, yeah, I understand that on day one the value is not there of the change which product managers doing, but they can see the value in coming forward. So I think that is very, very crucial that we work with the marketing and sales team, and of course operations, because the process notes are also owned by the product manager. They should know what process have been created, what is the inefficiency which has been created, where is the need for APIs. So they will be able to figure out between ops and tech, how will we judge and sort of figure out. And of course, finance is crucial, top line, bottom line, getting finance guys support to ensure that they're able to scale. Now, it looks like a flower, right? So yeah, so that's how the roles and responsibility look, and they have to work with these ecosystem. But I think when we are drawing this random kind of structure, is these products also do not exist in isolation. They also have to work very, very closely with the product managers or other sort. For example, if you are a product manager for say asset side, you may need to work with a retail, the liability side or a trade finance side. If you are managing, let's say, a particular page on internet banking and some segment is yours, you may still have to work with somebody else, because otherwise every product manager clashes. So you may see the typical clash. Every product manager clashes, and therefore the website of many banks is hodgepodge, because every product manager is pushing the marketing team to just push their content there. I think it is important that every product manager works together so that they have a same purpose, and they also don't end up confusing the technology team, because let's say journeys offered a lending product for MSMEs will have some correlation with what is done for retail as well, right? Now, if the technology teams and product teams are not in unison, what will happen is that they will end up buying a duplicate product or some other product and all of that, and the cost of the doing it, or maybe process of doing it, will become very unmanageable. That has happened in the past, where there was no control on this structure. So I think important that all product managers also sort of work in line with each other. They need to sort of collaborate, and of course somebody is at top to ensure that they are cross managing. At this point of time, any questions before we go into more context, more details? I think let me just take the questions which had come earlier. Of course, the first one was to only be louder. I hope I'm definitely appearing to be louder now. But if there is an issue, I'll become even closer. Yeah. So let me see, how does a B2B PM get access to the customer other than through general market feedback and surveys? I think, Raj, a good question from that perspective. I think let's say if you are a banker, it's important that you are offering a platform to your bank customer. It is important that you work with the bank, but you also directly figure out if there is a survey and all possible. But you can also go to a bank and saying, okay, I'm trying to build something for the new customers. Can you be a beta for me, and can we work together so that we can go to the market with your product and be together? I've seen it working. I've seen some of the B2B guys also working via their clients and reaching out to the customers. It is important that we just don't do a general feedback or a survey. We actually pinpoint the customer. Otherwise, we'll launch the product in the market and it might just not work, right? So think about it. It is crucial that we think in a very sort of structured manner, and many banks will be happy to work with you in that line. ऐसा नहीं है कि लोग नहीं आएंगे if you sort of judge and work with them too closely, right? So I think that's a pointer. Even if you look at betas which are done in the market by many of these players, I've seen this kind of coordination, but no right or wrong answers, not easy to do. But who says it is going to be easy, right? So more questions, please. Please share it on chat, or if you want to ask your question, put your videos on, give you a quick introduction and ask your question before we go ahead with the next piece of activity in terms of skills required, in terms of KPIs required, in terms of what they need to ensure that which roles can be actually migrated to, or in which role they could really move into this direction. So we need to sort of get there. Is IT background required for product management? I think it is useful, but not mandatory. I think important that a lot of things can be learned along the journey, right? So I think I've seen super product managers who are not from a tech background, but they can understand technology, can understand basics of it. Can they have an engagement or a discussion with the tech team? I think very crucial, because they should know when the tech team says about APIs, you understand. The tech teams ask saying that what is the capacity and capability you need. I think you should be able to answer why is he asking. Therefore, for example, if you suddenly have an increase in usage of your platform, they should know why it is happening, right? So important that we think from that perspective, that sizing, scaling, all of that is linked to how you are building. Let's say if your product has a lot of up and down, right? For example, it's seasonal by nature. For example, a lot of lending happens seasonal, right? Seasonal means month end, right? A lot of things happen in month end in lending side. So important that you need to take care of it. So important that you understand it. When we do our courses, I think we make a lot of people aware of the technology and APIs and process behind it. So that should be sufficient for you. But yeah, IT background is not mandatory for sure. Happy to take more questions before we continue. I think what is the last question is, what are the KPIs on which a PM is compared vis-a-vis other PMs within the team? I think if we are talking product managers, I think it's contextual by nature. I'll talk about it as we go forward. We'll talk about what are the KPIs, and they will be differently correlated in the role in which they are. It's a role of the product manager himself to come out how he or she should be managed, because many of their bosses may not know how to sort of structure and evaluate their performance. So it may be useful for even the product managers to actually come back and create their own KPIs. I think I have done it in my life a couple of times, so it'll be good to have that. Any more question before we go into the next step, please? Okay, if no, let's continue. So the context was we were talking about UI, UX, business and technology. But I think it's all in the context of sort of driving a product and working for a client, right? That's largely the structure you should look at it. So when you build for it, important that you understand the regulatory nuances in the country. You should have a good understanding of your own company's digital maturity. Now, what I meant was that if you do the same activity in 3 different organizations, one at a different level of maturity on the digital side, which is early stage, another at the medium stage, and other the late stage, the scope is different, right? You may have a different context in which you will operate, right? Because when the company is already ahead on digital side, you won't really face that much of resistance. You will not have a technology team which will be resisting all changes. You will not have a lack of understanding of regulatory side. So I think important that we understand, we look at the context in which we exist. A lot of times when we work with the early stage guys, a lot of work as a product manager we have to do to train the team, right? To train the top management, to ensure that they understand from where we are coming. Otherwise, you will create something and there's no support for it. So I think important that you understand the maturity of the top management or your peers or your team members. The fraud management and cyber security, I think critical that in any BFSI component, if you don't know what are kind of frauds, what kind of issues, what kind of security has to be inbuilt. I'm not right now talking purely regulatory side. Regulatory obviously talks about something, but I think generically there are frauds which happen in the market. We keep reading about it. So whenever you launch, you need to have understanding of it. And of course, you need to ensure that whatever you build, you need to have a good understanding of the context of cost which will be get involved. Now, this all not really, but I think we wanted to bring some clarity to areas you should think about when you become a product manager, and ensure that you have a framework to measure each of these components. Otherwise, a lot of times we have seen a lot of cost getting increased, or maybe from example, KYC side, you don't follow all the regulations which happen in the market because you're not tracking it enough. And at the end of the day, you have an issue where you have to stop a product launch because the regulations are not aligned, or regulations have changed, and now they have to be supported in 6 months, and you have no idea what these regulations are. And we have faced this in my life earlier, where RBI would come back with a regulation change and people will not budge, right? People will not move. People will not even know that regulatory changes happened. And then after 6 months, you go back to RBI and saying, okay, please extend because we did not know about it, or we had more issues in implementations, right? So I think that's the context I wanted to sort of set from a framework perspective. Now, every product goes through its own journey, right? At the introduction stage, when we are just kickstarting the business, or maybe when it's also already growing, the numbers are growing continuously, or maybe at some maturity stage, or it's going down. At each stage, the role and responsibility of the product manager changes dramatically. And to some extent, if you bring a product manager, let's say, for example, the savings account guy in a bank, if it is not innovating continuously, would be around this area, right? And if you hire the person and bring it to early stage neobank who's driving a debit card and credit card, a debit card and savings account framework, I think he will be at sea because he would not know how to launch, right? It's very difficult to launch here. So important that we need to look at where we are, right? So if anybody who bring from here to here, a lot of work will be around basic changes in the product. Let's say maybe some charges changes, or maybe adding some insurance to the savings account. That's largely the product manager's job will be. Whereas this is like engagement journey, the app journey will also be embedded into this. How do you ensure that the transactions are well managed and well structured? So uske liye alag hoga. So all of that is different, right? So I think I've seen a lot of people making a mistake of moving from here to early stage company and building the product, but they don't realize the complete change in their product or their complete change in their role and responsibility. And sometimes just to go down saying, यार समझ में नहीं आ रहा, ये तो कंपनी समझती नहीं है मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ. So I think that we have seen a lot. So just think about it. And also, I think if you are in a company where the product is going down, it's your role and responsibility to actually bring it back. Actually, it needs as much energy at this stage as it is required at this stage, right? So if your product is not getting engaged and it's going down, how do you ensure that you build newer products and new journeys and sort of keep scaling up from there? So just a thought process, not that I am perfect, but I think this is how I think that when we sort of tend to hire for our consulting firm, we are also aware that if you bring from a very mature organization, when they join us, they will find it very difficult to work because we typically work in a very evolving stage with the clients. They're launching a new product ground up, or they are the company is getting built afresh, or maybe somebody's in payments, launching lending, or maybe something is fuel, somebody is in travel, something is in maybe in social commerce. So it is important that we look at the transition and ensure that these trainings are done. Because if you are jumping from here to here, I think you must get ready for this market through a lot of intense training. That helps a lot from the customer perspective, from your own risk perspective. Now, coming back to the responsibilities of this role, I think what they should be looking at from a day-to-day perspective. I think the strategy is definitely part of their activity. The product strategy, top line, bottom line structure, customer engagement, which customers we should target, all of that should be part of it. So I think building a strategy is good for you. Don't leave it for your top management to do. I think product managers to ensure that for that product, they have a full strategy as well built. And of course, work closely with the top management. Compliance and regulation, I cannot repeat enough. USP and strategic marketing, right? So work closely to ensure that the USPs come out. Why should the product be bought by them? And then, of course, working out that messaging is very carefully and clearly articulated in the market is crucial. So, for example, right now we are working with many of our clients. When we are taking it to partner with the lenders, like a large bank, we have to figure out what is it for them, right? From the lender's perspective, they should engage with it. How should they support it, right? So it's important that we figure out what the USP is. A lot of times we see a lot of large documents, but I think important that we figure out what the top 4 or 5 points are there, with which you can engage directly with the customer, or even the marketing team actually can create a theme around it and outreach through organic or other campaigns in the market. And of course, your job is to build features. Which feature, how we should do that is very, very crucial, right? So we need to ensure that we have a good understanding of the features available on the product roadmap. So, for example, we are trying to work with the client on ensuring that while we are engaged with the launching of top features in next maybe a month or two, but important that we figure out what are the next features we'll get on top of that. So reaching out to the market and getting that features aligned, structured is crucial. It's also crucial that once we know what we are going to build, we may also look at it saying that what is the customer priority and what is the development priority and what is the implication of it. We figure out all of that in our top line priority, and then based on those parameters, go back and ensure that those get prioritized and solved for. A lot of times we see tons of features, tons of functionalities which people expect to be launched, right? For example, we have 100 feature list, but I think it's important that we have to figure out which one to be prioritized. It is again linked to a myriad of logics. It can be linked to what is the easiest one to do from a tech perspective. It can be linked to what is the maximum impact of it from a customer perspective, maximum impact of it on the top line and bottom line perspective. So it's a complicated thought process, but most of the time we see people just saying, yeah, ye kar de, because the product manager is pushing with some one thought process, but important that you evaluate it end to end. Every to sort of figure out a revenue forecasting. So in terms of what is the top line, what is the bottom line, what is the structure, what is it that if you scale, let's say for example the product is rolled out, and if you scale, how do you ensure that scaling is done in a structured manner? For example, if you need 10 people, so we are right now working with a client where we are having maybe a small team of core operations team, which is working on the whole journeys and back end process and testing also. And I was just discussing that team is core to you. So I think from an investment perspective, can we invest more in that team, train them better so that they can scale up? So from a scaling up perspective, which team will go up? So the cost will go up. Which team will actually, because of digital side, will actually reduce in size? Where will the customer be willing to pay money? If let's say, for example, lending me customer is willing to pay money, what is the average NIM we can get, or a net interest margin we can get? All of that is important for us to correlate. We also have to figure out that from a sales perspective, what kind of teams are required, what is the cost required for selling this product. If the product, there's already enough people who are selling it, and there's an additional product coming out on it, is the product going to be independently profitable or not? Is it strategic or not? So I think that revenue forecasting is critical, both from a to ensure that you know what you're talking about, right? A lot of times people miss out on that. Market research, continuously research the market. It can be a competitive research, saying that who's new coming in the market, who are we competing with it, or what is the changing trends on the customer segment, what is the customer expecting. It keeps changing in the market, right? So important that you do research. Important that you always have a good view on the customer journey, which is what is broken, where the customer clicking, if the emails are going to the customer or messages are going to the customer, which message and how it is getting used, which one are they reading, all of that. It's not easy. I think, to be honest, you may think that main bol raha hu, it's perfect, I would know everything, it will work beautifully, but it takes time, right? We are also learning how with our customers, saying which journeys are critical, which journeys are getting broken. When it is broken, when you fix it, how can you optimize it? Let's say, for example, what is the attrition rate? How do you ensure that at what point in time customer gets bored? How many minutes it should take? How many seconds it should take for customer platform to onboard, react to the customer? All of that. And of course, we have to keep taking feedback. So at this point of time, maybe Maitri, you can share the feedback form to the group. So one of the things we always have to do is get feedback from you. I think I just got a feedback that I speak very fast. I have a tendency to speak very fast. So I think many of you would have reached out asking for me to slow down. So I am trying to slow down. I hope it is visible. Saksham, I know you have given a feedback. I'll come back to you. Give me a few minutes. I'll come back to you. So in terms of characteristics of a product manager, I think they're everything which a leader should be. He should be organized, analytical, communicative. I think communicative, I will say very, very crucial, because people tend to not to communicate. They sit in their silos, do their documentation, and roll out a very complicated product out. But I think as much as that documentation is required, is as much as the communication to each stakeholder, internally, externally. When you are rolling out, if there is implication to customer has to be informed. Prioritization, obviously, we spoke about. Problem solver. I think a lot of times we find people who are only pushing फट गया, नहीं हो रहा, not possible, I'm not getting tech support. I think all of that is very normal in the life, but I think it's important that you sit on the solving side, just solve the problem, right? Otherwise you get deeply embedded into problem itself and you become the problem. Detail oriented, but I think when I say communicative, communication always should be in summary so that people can understand, but these guys should be very detail oriented. They should be leaders, obviously, to drive the agenda, because otherwise they don't drive. Nobody else will. They have to juggle across so many stakeholders, so many requirements, self-driven logically, strategic logically, decisive. I think a lot of times decisions are not taken, and important that we take decisions. For example, if you have to shut some product because it's not working forward, you need to take decision and stop now, right? So I think we ourselves took a call a few months back that we had to the product was profitable. Product was usable, but it was not scalable. We were trying to scale the product, and we just not able to scale. And we were getting lost in as a product manager or as a product owner. We went ahead and we just scaled the product because it was not creating any impact or positive impact on the company. It was not strategic and it was not helpful to the company. Just we took it off. But it was complicated and difficult decision, but we had to decide. Conflict resolution, I think there'll be, whenever we are doing any digital initiative, there'll be a lot of conflicts which will happen. So important that you sort of work with each conflict. So I think a lot of times when I'm called, I'm trying to only remove the conflict within the operations to product to technology to leadership. we have to figure out how to ensure that we communicate well and saying, "Arey yaar, to dekh lenge yaar." We are all together in it, and we move forward. Entrepreneur, obviously, from your perspective, when you are launching a product will only go forward when you figure out how to make it happen at least possible cost in most impactful way. Empathetic to the customers and employees both, collaborative and focused. I think logical. Moving to skill sets, I think we typically talk about all the skills required on the business side, value creation, strategy, monetization, all of that. So if important that you take all these skills and you sit on the business side, but as much as you know about technology, right? So sometimes you may not want to become a project manager. And it has happened many times that you may not, I did not want to become a product manager, but because of my virtue of my role, I actually ended up running the project also, a product program also, because they work in very, very sort of close way. Of course, if you have a project management team also along with you, that's great. But if not, you should work on the tech specs, BRDs, detailing of it, and also lifecycle management and design thinking and research. I think while you can work with the UI UX guys as well, but important that you take your own trainings and all so that you can empathize with what the user experience guys talking and sharing with you, and go back and build for it, right? So I think these are some pointers, a skill set you must think about and build for. Many times we will get confused on the roles and responsibilities or types of RPMs which are there. I think there are in the same organization, you may have a tech program manager, a product manager, you may have a business product manager, you have a growth product manager, maybe all aligned in the same horizon, right? They may have slightly different roles. Of course, I've seen more or less business product managers and technology product managers to work together. Many times there may be only one product manager, so it is different, but roles and responsibility will be different. In tech side, its focus is to work closely with the business product managers and drive technology. Growth product managers sole responsibility. I mean, there are you may call them a growth hacker or something. At times we act like a growth hacker. We recently changed the logics and frameworks for one of the client, and the business definitely grew at a rapid pace because underpinning issues were not so too complicated to solve. But you are understanding kaise badh sakta. UI UX obviously focused on customer experience journeys. If you are primarily on the e-commerce side and you have a customer engagement side, maybe UI UX takes even more importance. Even on neo-banking side, UI UX takes a very, very, very crucial role, right? So I think it depends on that. Data analytics product managers, I think that's something which we have seen a lot of them in the market right now. There's a lot of hiring for that. And of course, marketing is somebody working with even a business product manager, but focusing on how the communication, outreach, and all will happen. But focusing on the product and taking it to the market, sometimes it's overlapping, sometimes it's confusing. Don't worry about it. You might have multiple product manager roles there. In my days, in 21, 22 years, we had nothing called really a product manager role. We had a role called, I think, I don't know what the role was, but the role was to drive all of that in those days as well. In the journey and the process, you would obviously be working through ideation, planning, MVP. So basically, ideation kiya karoge, fir you would end up doing research, planning, build, MVP, launch, measure, learn. I think this is all loop. We have been hearing about this loop, but your activities, your charter will change every time. So every month, every day, every week, your life cycle will be different. For example, if you are at a stage where you are into planning stage, for example, you are right now actually at a stage you are doing documentation for what you will do, and you are doing research. At this point of time, your life will be different. Once it goes into the dev stage, it will be different. MVP, you will be far more interactive with the customer. So it changes with time. That is the power of the product manager's role, right? You keep changing your role and responsibility. Important that you always focus on MVPs and take a market feedback. So that whatever your minimum viable product you do something at the least possible cost. It should be something which the customer can use, may not like it altogether, but at least you get a feedback that's good enough or not. For example, when we started our training courses 5 years back, the first thing which we did was we did a course together. We put together 3-hour course along with our team members and our friends in the market, and launched it as a free program in the market. And we got the feedback that product was good, But since we are not monetizing, there were issues with it. So we went into monetization methods and it worked well for us. So it's MVP is something very, very crucial for all of us to do. In terms of metrics for analysis, what we should be looking at, these are all some of the activities we have called out, not that they're all relevant for you, but important that you pick up something similar, right? For example, what is the monthly recurring revenue? What is the customer lifetime value? What is the cost of acquisition? What is the turnaround time for your product? Let's, for example, if you're online channel where the customer retention is important and customer should be on your portal for some time, then your retention, the session duration is critical. If you are looking at cross sell, important that the customer is there enough so that you can actually transact. So I think these are all some of the pointers you should look at it. Team velocity, for example, at what pace you are developing and you are able to roll out new products weekly, monthly, or yearly. I think this is where the challenges with some of the organizations are. They tend to work with a yearly rollouts or 2 yearly rollouts. That doesn't work anymore. Coming to job opportunity in the market, I think when we were looking at this thought process, we realized that and we also do hiring as well, right, for our clients. And we realized that between a training or which is the executive program and hiring, largely the hiring which was happening or which continues to happen in the market is of our product managers. Now this can be at different levels, associate to a chief product officer. We have even placed a chief product officer in the market. What we realize that the salary levels are bizarrely high. You tend to make I think much more than the normal salaries in the market. It's very, very crucial for us to realize that this segment is complicated. It takes more energy, more time, more different spheres you have to learn. But I think very, very critical role. And people find it very, very. They do not find it easy to find a product managers in their market. So I think if you look at the data, digital product managers in the market are almost 73,000. This is like monster data, which our team did a research on. Out of 130,000 people, 73, which almost like 50-60% of people are the product manager or digital product managers, which are focused on technology much more as well, digital much more as well. So good salaries are typically more than what you tend to get in the market. Now, who can be a digital product manager? It can be a UI UX guy. It can be a marketing guy, operations. So yesterday I was talking to one of the participants of the next executive program. He's from a technology background. He's basically driving. It's like an information architect out there on one of the cloud platform. And what his point was that he wants to become a product manager and he wants to know what the difference is. How can we get into this? And I was telling him that once you go through some of these programs and some of these activities and you understand the business, you actually can transition to these roles. You may take a 2-step role where you can take a tech leadership in a fintech and then migrate towards the actual role of either a founder or actual product managers and all of that. That's very much feasible in the market, right? So people are very, very happy to give these roles to any of them. From a marketing side, you can enter, ops side, you can enter. But important that you have to go out of your comfort area and enter and figure out how to sort of go into free float, learn more, learn numbers, learn technology, learn all of that. That's what the target for our course itself is. And of course, a lot of times people confuse product managers with project managers. I think just pure project managers are basically trying to control, manage project tasks, assign tasks, escalations, and this is a very different activity, right? I was talking to one of the friends. He was saying that give me some people, I'll get the work done. But I think new world, I think product managers have to do a lot of thinking on their own before they actually assign tasks and figure out who will do what. So I think a project manager can also grow into a product manager, and product manager can also work and do some project management tasks, but they are not same. I think product management has more complications because you are responsible for not just a schedule, but more than that. One of the points I was talking all through was that we have this course called FinTech Executive Program in FinTech, Open Banking, Financial Blockchain, which is coming on 7th of August. We have digital payments, open banking, digital lending, and all of those areas already sort of getting taught, which has been what we have been doing for last three cohorts, which is we started almost a year and a half back, almost in that. And every 3-4 months we have this course. Now, one new module we have added now to the course is actually a product management. So getting into success factors, how do you develop new products? What are the frameworks? What is the development process? What kind of tools you should use? A bit of understanding of design thinking. We'll also get somebody who's a founder telling you how to build a product, what are challenges, what is the market analysis you should do, how do you identify new product, new gaps out there which you do, how should you do prototyping and testing at the least possible cost. So I think that's largely what we will try to bring in as part of this course. So this is so while we were running all these 7 areas as well, but this is the new element which we are adding based on the market feedback. Again, market is changing, and we are also trying to ensure that we upgrade our training cohort, right? And I think from a course perspective, it is almost 100 hours of course. Fair amount of it, almost 70-80% is live, which is we'll be teaching directly, not just me, my other co-founders, and almost 40 odd leaders from the market will be coming and teaching. It will be live and interactive the way it is. And of course, here people are not asking visually, but there when we do these courses, they actually ask these questions visually as well. They keep asking and they keep discussing. This is when we think about case studies. I think case studies are more like a blank case study which are used saying that boss US mein aisa ho raha hai. We tend to bring only Indian use cases largely because here in India, at least on digital lending and payments, we are far ahead of the market. I'm not saying from a proud perspective, that's how it is. Whereas open banking, we are growing better, and yeah, well side, we are slightly behind. But when we do these courses, we tend to bring the best in the market, the most famous guys in the market, when they frankly talk about what the course content is, how it. I mean, they will talk about their challenges, their process. For example, let's say we have a founder who has just launched his company. He will talk about his challenges in launching his companies from all sides. When the product guys will talk, technology guys will talk. Technology guys will talk about how to build a tech stack behind it. So they will come and give you a frank view. So case studies, when you look at it, normally it is somebody else's case study, but here you will have the founders and the CXOs themselves talking about it. And of course, a lot of participants have already taken the skill. So there's a lot of cohorts get done. So we actually run projects with these groups, and these guys build their own use cases. So I think these capstone projects are very powerful, and they get to learn a lot on that. I think with this, I paused. I know that there are questions coming up. I'll try to respond back on them. Just one sec. I think there's a question coming from Saksham. Saksham, I think it's a very long question. Would you want to ask it right now if you are around, or we can continue with the next one? Yeah, I think he may have.
Yes, sir. Sir, so like I wanted to ask that I am in the first year and we had our induction program right now. So I missed the starting of the session. So can you please brief me about what Digital Fifth is and what it does and what role we get in product management, and do PGDM RM people get role of product management as fresher engineers, and what should I do to make my career in this?
And which organization, which college you are from?
I am from IRMA, sir, Institute of Rural Management.
Okay, so good news. We have I think one person from IRMA already working with us on the product management side, actually building products for a couple of organizations, one in export, one in inclusion side. So I think that's good. We are basically focused on fintech area. So fintech or fintech and digital finance is same for us. So there we run strategy, consulting, and all of that work we do. That's a primary business we are in. And we also use that same knowledge for training in these courses as well. So that's largely what we do. It's right now focused more on the professionals, people with maybe like 5 to 20 years experience. But I think we are also trying to figure out how do we launch courses primarily for students as well. So we've not done much, but something is around the corner.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Any other question from anyone else side, which we would want to answer from a career building perspective? I think one question I just saw was what is the cost of this course? I think you can reach out to maybe Matthew. You can share share the link to the brochure and all. I think they can look at that. Otherwise, they will end up asking if, of course, they can talk to Srikanth as well. Maybe Matthew would want to share the details or link to them so that they want to submit that, they can do that. Yeah. Any
Yeah.
other?
Hi, Samir. This side, ask him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask that, okay, if anyone, say for example, in any scenario, if someone is starting a fintech base or on some sort of digital product, be it a payday loan or be it any kind of loan that they are about to provide. So how we should think of a tech stack, and how do we do a market research and research from technology perspective? Okay, this is the tech stack I have to use, and all the services, microservices, API, and how do we basically? I just want to know, how do we project all this idea in a well summarized form so that, okay, we can go ahead with the implementation part of all the tech stack.
And can you just tell me quickly your background?
So currently I'm a data scientist working in a Naman Finleys, and we are basically working we are thinking for a new product basically. So, and for that one, we are thinking that, okay, we should move from the old technology to the new part.
I think so. My sense is first, I think you are primarily coming from your own roles and responsibility perspective, right? So I think
Yes.
that's something you need to relook at it, because then you will say that मैं ऐसा ही करता हूं, तो from a data science perspective, how can I get into it, right? So I think it's a different thought. When we go into the course, obviously it's much more detailed. But my sense is that, let's say 4 or 5 of you who are building it, I think if you can create a almost like a pitch to the client, right? I think that will work. On day one, you will realize ki kya value proposition and what structure is there, what cost structures are there. So I think that's something which you do. I can't really respond back how to build a strategy for your product like that. But yeah, there are a lot of steps around that. Understanding the process, plan, people capacity. For example, you may need a business manager to come on board and who will convert this, or you have to learn enough about business side from a process plan. नहीं तो आपको समझेगा नहीं, right? Lot of people ignore these details, saying यार ये तो secondary काम है, somebody else, either tech guy or ops guy will do it. Or if you're a pure data scientist, you will always have a bit of a thought process, ये तो business का काम है. But I think if you can learn that, anybody can build it, right? It's not that difficult.
Okay, thanks.
I think Raj, you had some question. You want to ask yourself directly? Introduce yourself and you can ask.
Hi, Samir. I'm Raj, working. So I'm a product owner for the data foundation products at Oracle.
Okay.
I have a question. Like when embarking on a new product, of course we do the due diligence, build the case, research, and all. But then, how do you broadly sell the product first within your own organization? Unless your boss and the wider organization is on board, you won't get that kind of a support to launch or even embark on building the product. How does APM do that?
No, I think not again. These are all situational by nature, because there are organizations which are against anything which is new new to the table, right? There are organizations which are very keen to pick it up, right? So it's a different level. So you need to first assess where your organization is, and is there a chance that you will get support at some point in time? Is there a precedent? So you can. My sense is that you can spend 6 to 12 months getting the buy in your idea, right? It may take some time. It may be like looking at cost. Sometimes we also don't need know the implications. So take a very 12-month approach for getting the idea aligned with the top management. If you are in a very entire product or maybe a resisting top management, so you need to be patient with it, right? But let's say if after maybe so much of time, you are not still able to get through, either you have not got through or your top management is not never going to support anything new. So it's important that you evaluate the company itself where you are in. And I'm really not giving you a real direct example, but I think a lot of people who are looking at innovation, they get caught in high salary jobs. It's a catch-22, right? So it has happened to me in my life, and I just broke that point, right? Because I know that this is how it works, right? This is how the team, the organization may not have the ability to take any change. They want to play soft and easy for years to come, because that's what brought them here. So important that you evaluate your skills and you're able to launch a new product, and also the company is able to accept it. You have to take a call around that. I have been able to a lot of times. I've been able to get I've been able to convince the top management for doing it, and I've been sort of taken forward. There are times where I lose, right? So that's also learning. You may not know everything, how to convince others, but if you're, so I was reading or thinking about some pointer, right? There are organizations which allow for it, so it's a learning organization, or they don't do it, so it's like a political war, right? So you need to figure out how to in politics get support for yourself, I think those organizations are really avoidable.
Thanks a lot, Samir.
Yeah, any other questions, guys? And of course, would love to see feedback from you as well. We are coming back with the next session is primarily focused on which will be, I think mostly will happen next week, is what are the jobs available in the market. So we'll be happy to have you guys joining there as well, right? But anything else you would want to ask Abhishek, Pushkar, Purushottam, anybody else? Okay, and many of you tend to ask us all the time that from where can we subscribe you? I think at times we tend to sort of forget to tell you where we exist today. So yeah, I think Maitri, if you could send the YouTube link to it, because many of you who'd not seen the whole video may have missed out. So if you can share the video, that will be good for participant to sort of track out if they have not gone through the whole course. Or the whole content, or they have missed out the previous content as well, so they can have a look at that as well. So maybe if you can put the YouTube link there. Anything else, guys? Karan, Praful, anybody else? If no, then we will. Okay, Purushottam, you have a question. Happy to learn about your Aadhaar-based ATM innovation. I think very interesting and simple value proposition, right? When we were building for it, getting support was not easy. Interestingly, getting support internally within the organization was not easy, not difficult at all. I think we got alignment within minutes. The idea came and got aligned. I think the issue was to get the tech vendor to support you, right? I think tech vendors were found it bizarrely complicated, saying yes, karna. But actually the work was very easy. We had in the system, account was linked to always Aadhaar. And so what the framework we are trying to figure out is that when you go to ATM, can you have you punch in your Aadhaar number, you put your thumb, Aadhaar number and thumb, can you take the money out? So the Aadhaar number is permanent. It's a digit, right? And thumb is permanent. Hopefully it is not decapitated, right? So if both are permanent, then you can remove the card and pin. That was the idea on which we actually launched. It actually worked very well, and we had rolled out in various ATMs as well. But in between, because of some restriction on Aadhaar, it had to be pulled back. But logic was not complicated. We already if you look at just logic, you had Aadhaar number was always mapped to account number, and when instead of punching in your ID or ATM number or swiping it, you are just punching that number and putting your thumb. Thumb is a pin, right? So that was easy. It was not that difficult. Not difficult to launch at all. Yeah, but I think his idea generation was more critical there.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. Kumar, I don't know the question which you are trying to ask. Kumar, I have not understood the question at all. Okay. If there are no other questions, at least I'm not. So you can subscribe our YouTube channel right here. I think you can go there. You will find all the previous videos as well. With this, we close. Thank you, guys. And we'll be back with the next cohort or next course very soon. Thank you, guys.